Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we kept going with the Void Crusade and it didn't go too well. We can mulch all this, that's fine. Might as well free up some space. Oh yeah, we gotta do our seasonal mission before that gets out of hand. Do we want to put extra stuff on this? I mean, that one worked out just fine. Okay, let's try to shop around and see what we can get out of this. That's fine. Actually, influence is kind of a waste. Definitely don't want that heat resist. Yeah, screw it, we'll take the damage. It's gonna suck, but it's whatever. You know, the more I think about it, I think part of the problem with like the aiming and stuff in this game is they wanted to do all this fancy stuff with being able to take cover, but they made every enemy just charge you, so cover is pointless. And then they never really bothered to try to fix the issues that came from that. And so we're left with this weird setup of like trying to have different things out of a game that just aren't congruent with each other. But oh well. Ooh, neural implant, that might be good. There's been a lot of game news in the past like week or so. Since the week or so of like prior to this recording, not when this video comes out. It'll be like a few days after the recording that this comes out, but so first thing is the studio that did Immortals of Aveum, you know, that magic shooter that came out. If you don't remember it, yeah, I don't blame you. It was a game. The studio Ascendant Studio, they ended up laying off half their staff, roughly, citing poor sales, which, yeah, I could have told you that. The game had a lot of issues. They shoehorned in the standard progression system of every looter shooter now, which, as much as I love loot, I do think at a certain point some games shouldn't have it. I think it's something where you have to build around that mechanic as opposed to just shove it in and be like, yep, it game now. But at the same time, there's also the problem of magic shooter. That's a very peculiar combination, and I don't think it meshes well. But going with that, I think the biggest problem is markets aren't being met. We see this with some of these games that come out where everybody sits there and goes, oh my god, this is such a big hit. And the obvious response is, yeah, it's like RTS games. When an RTS comes out and it does really well, everyone's like, oh, I didn't expect that. It's like, yeah, we haven't had RTS games in earnest in years. So when we do get them, unless they are absolute garbage, they get a lot of traction initially because we kind of need them. And I think the problem with Immortals of Aveum is the FPS genre is very not under-treated, but underserved. Ooh, Deathshroud Terminator. But when you look at it, you look at like Battlefield. Battlefield sucks. As much as people cope and are like, oh, it's good now, guys, I swear. Nah, it's still butt. As tragic as it is. Ooh, Tears of the Oh, that's another lore item. I also picked up a red thing. Alright, let's read this lore. In 611 M40, so 40th millennium, 611, an astropathic distress call was received from a remote corner of the Tenebrous subsector, pleading for assistance against an arch-enemy incursion. When Imperial forces responded, they found that they were centuries late. The planet in question was utterly devoid of life, with only the merest hints of civilization where once Imperial settlements stood. The only intact structures on the whole planet were 9 chapels dedicated to a forgotten Adepta Sororitas order. Inside each of them, 9 angel statues were discovered, which all wept tears of blood for exactly 9 days. Spooky. That also happens a lot with warp travel. Sometimes you can arrive just as the call for help comes out. Sometimes you arrive before the call goes out. Sometimes you arrive a century later, because time is completely ephemeral in the warp. Ooh. Also, ooh. Lots of stuff here. Okay, let's just keep cranking out our single DPS. Lots of interesting stuff here. Heat vulnerability on burning skill hit. Don't think we actually do burning. Damage bonus for aimed and sniper skill. That's pretty useless. We'll actually re-roll it. We'll see if we can pull something out of it. Grenade launcher, not that good. Yeah, it's not that good. I'd rather take the T-bolt stuff at this point. At the moment, that's better utility. That lasgun's not that good either. Inferno shards are cool. Cooldown for T-bolt, it's not that good. And slow on poison skill, so that's completely useless. Alright, so let's modify you. Oh, unique enchant, can't be reroll. Thanks. Alright, so that goes in the dumpster then. What's this grenade looking like? Chance to trigger a judgment spell on hit. It's actually better than chance for an attack to become fleshbane equal to deflect value, mostly because our deflect value, if we go to defense, is 9%. Not that great. And I think that on hit, I don't know if that's just the grenade or on hit in general. Either way, still sounds a lot better. The shock on bleeding skill hit, might reroll that. Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna start rerolling some of this crap because when we look at it off the rip, that can go. Experience gain, I'll take it. Execution effect, I don't do melee, so I don't do executions. Physical resistance, not the greatest, but still serviceable. Let's roll it again, we'll see what we get. Chance to use an inoculator for free. Yeah, I'll take it. As much as I'm not too keen on it, that's also not a terrible addition. If we're being 100% honest. Yeah, I'm not even going to compare the plasma gun. I already know it's going to be worse. Alright, now let's go back into this Void Crusade and prepare to suffer. So our next one is this one. Please don't be awful. Okay, that's actually completely serviceable. Not gonna put anything on it, just not die. I think all the missions are easier from here on out, but god, that wall where you just hit those couple hard missions, those are just brutal. And honestly, just demoralizing. Because, like, there's nothing you can do. Part of it is the mechanics are just not nice. The suppression is just hell on earth, and I feel like if you build around suppression, it's a waste. But the game will just screw you either way. But we're over the hump. Should be easy now. But as I was saying before, markets aren't being met. Battlefield isn't even a good Battlefield, and the talk of trying to make this interconnected universe crap shows that EA doesn't understand what they're doing. Their higher-ups are so detached from the actual product and from what fans are asking for that they're going to make a terrible thing. And it doesn't surprise me. Hell, Unity, if you haven't heard this fun bit, Unity has been having just an absolute fun time because their higher-ups decided that they wanted to charge per installation of games. So, like, if you made a game, you'd get charged at maximum 20 cents, depending on your license, all the way down to, like, 2 cents per install. Until you sold, like, I think it was like 1 million or something, or... It was something absurd, or I think it was after your first 1 million, which kneecaps the mobile market, because a lot of mobile games use Unity. But so... that was a big problem. And they had all this other crap going on, and people looked into who's in charge, and they found the guy leading it was a former higher-up guy at EA. He was the guy who, during Battlefield 3, its production, said, oh, we should charge players when they reload. And he was like, well, this way they're more invested. I'm like, you are an idiot. This man, he must lie on his resume, because there is no way in hell any company who actually cares would look at this guy and be like, oh yeah, the guy who came up with the most brain-dead ideas that would have killed a franchise. Yeah, bring him on. But at the same time, I also get it. There's the idea of, oh, he must have learned. He can't be this stupid, like, 15 years later. Turns out you can be stupid forever. But yeah, so... Battlefield not servicing their market. Call of Duty failing to service their market. They're so focused on... I don't even know at this point what they're focused on. Battle Royale? Because it sure doesn't seem like they're focused on the extraction shooter part. It seems like they just up and quit that bit real fast. I mean, they just... It was like, oh, it didn't make us $1 billion? Okay, we don't want it. Oh, we have to put more effort post-launch to make it not suck? Yeah, we don't want to do it then. Just turn it into a zombies mode for the next game. That'll be fine, right? Those morons will spend $25 on a skin pack for a zombies mode. They're stupid, what do they know? But so, the shooter market isn't being serviced, so why would you make a super niche kind of thing of like, hey, it's wizards and all this stuff. Not even wizards, it's just like magical gauntlets that function like guns with some really embarrassing puzzles of use the green spell on the green crystal to unlock the door. There's 4 crystals, 2 blue, 2 red. Use the appropriate colored magics on the crystals. I kind of hate puzzles when it's like that, because it's not even a puzzle. It is some Fisher-Price level, hey, can you figure out how to match colors? We wanted to slow the game down and add like 15 seconds onto the playtime. And yet people will still screw it up. And not like people who actually have issues with, maybe people who are colorblind, people who actually have developmental issues, I give them a pass. That's fine. I'm talking like actual normal people who are just somehow brain dead. You know, Dark Side Phil. But, yeah, so these markets aren't being met. And then you make something niche, and then it fails because people aren't looking for that. You can have niche games when the base markets are met, because then people are looking for new experiences. When people have the basic needs met, then they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll try something new and wild. Why not? I already have my fallback game. This is my comfort game. I'll drop, you know, 50, 60, even now $70 on a kind of oddball game for shits and gigs. That's fine. I already got what I need. But when you don't have your core, people look at those kind of oddball games and they're like, if this flops, then I don't have a fallback. That's how I feel personally. I've been looking for an FPS to really sink into, because Call of Duty just hasn't done it for me in years, honestly. The last 2 CODs I played were like in earnest play, instead of just like play the beta, were Modern Warfare 2019, because they had ground war and I needed that large-scale combat since there wasn't anything else available, because Battlefield V was meh. And then Black Ops 4. And Black Ops 4, I grew to accept the game, but I definitely didn't like it, and I'm still not a fan. I don't like how grenades were a piece of equipment and you had to spend a gear point just to swap and actually have a grenade. I felt like it was a little too limiting. And same thing with like trophy systems. Because it was that extra cost, a lot of people didn't run them. So if you had any ability that had grenades or a grenade launcher, you could kind of just run roughshod over people because they didn't have anything to counter you. But so the basic shooters aren't being met. And we don't have the good old days. We don't have Chaos Studio to make Frontline Fuel of War. We don't have Zipper to make Mag. We don't have Splash Damage to make Brink or Enemy Territory Quake Wars. Hell, we don't even have Sucker Punch to just come out of nowhere and make Resistance. I think it's Sucker Punch. I can't remember. It was Sucker Punch or Naughty Dog, one of the two. I think Naughty Dog was Infamous, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so we don't have any core games. Guerrilla abandoned Killzone. So a lot of the games that could have served as a core are gone. So yeah, I wouldn't pick up wacky magic shooter game. And it's a shame, because it was like 40 people who lost their jobs. But it's still 40 people who are out of work, and that's not fun. That sucks. And it leads to the next bit I was going to talk about. Embracer's trying to figure out what to do with Gearbox. Now, part of the problem is every article I find just says Gearbox. And Gearbox is not one entity, because there is Gearbox, the parent company, there's Gearbox Properties, Gearbox Entertainment, Gearbox Studios, and I believe Gearbox Publishing. And so my question is, which Gearbox are they looking to get rid of? Are they looking to kind of drop the parent company and just pull the studio and keep that? Are they looking to keep the IPs but kind of offload some extra weight? What's the deal? Because that raises a lot of questions and has a lot of ramifications one way or another. Wipe these last guys out quick. Lightning round mulching. And we're on to this one. Also tolerable. But so this offloading of Gearbox is kind of, I'd say, distressing, because there is talk of selling. And first question becomes, who do you sell it to? Amazon? I don't even know if Amazon's looking to buy anybody. I feel like they probably should just buy a studio and let them do stuff instead of trying to make their own. Because God knows we see how that's going with New World. But I also think part of the problem there was they tried to make an MMO. You're already behind the 8 ball. And when they didn't really take anything to heart, doesn't help. And I remember hearing stuff where their higher-ups were like, we want the most streamable game, and I'm like, and you picked an MMO? That's like saying, I want to watch the most thrilling sport on TV, and you turn on golf. But so, this offloading of Gearbox, it's worrying, because then, if it's not like Amazon, who else is it? Tencent? NetEase? I guarantee if Tencent gets their mitts on it, it's not going to end well. But then on top of that, there's Sony, Microsoft. And the second that idea came out, I saw people all over the internet just absolute helmet-wearing window lickers coming out of nowhere, drooling on everything, going, oh, this will be great if it gets on Game Pass. No. First off, if the FTC didn't pound Microsoft's ass over getting Activision, then they definitely should if they were to buy Gearbox, because that's even more acquisitions. And people say, oh, well, you just want Sony. No, I don't want Sony to do it either. I want Sony to use the shit they have. I'm sick of them buying studios. I understand when they buy brand new studios that are like, hey, we haven't even made a game. Sure, cool, whatever. You don't have anything. There isn't an established, like, title or market. But when it's established studios getting bought out, no, I don't want anybody buying these. These need to be on their own or under other companies that are not part of an actual console maker. And not get absorbed into, like, EA, because it'll go to hell in a handbasket if they get bought by EA. But so, people still fail to understand, like, let's take Call of Duty. The estimated cost for Modern Warfare 2 was $250 to $300 million. If every Xbox user, I think every Game Pass user is like 25 million, I remember seeing, or something along those lines. All that, everybody paying $10 a month. that would pay 1 month's worth, would pay for just Call of Duty. Completely subsidize the cost. Which they would essentially need to do, because that is the cost of just... That would be just the PC and Xbox people. But that's 1 month. That is not paying money out for any other games. No indies, no anything else that comes out, which they would have to pay for other games. If they own other studios, anything that comes out they have to subsidize. And with the ever-increasing costs, you can start seeing that chewing into other months. And that's where it becomes obvious, and they've even admitted, it's a loss leader. It is meant to pull you into their ecosystem, and they make the money elsewhere. That's how... Great example, grocery stores. Gotta tie this to something tangible for folks. Grocery stores. You notice how certain things are in the front of the store, but they always put certain things in the back? Part for, like, milk and stuff, it makes sense. But there are two parts to it. First part is to have you walk by a bunch of more stuff to buy. Second is they can afford the upfront stuff being picked up and nothing else, because it's how it's meant to be. Those are supposed to be loss leaders. They're supposed to get you in, oh, I picked up chips that are on sale. Well, I might as well grab dip to go with it. Okay, well, that's further in the back. Oh, I gotta grab something else. It's to pull you into the ecosystem. But people don't like that. People don't like being faced with the reality, because people, for some reason, believe big companies, mega corporations, are their friend. You are a walking wallet to them. I genuinely feel sorry for people who believe that, you know, Microsoft or Sony has their, you know, best interest in mind. It's like, no, they're trying to keep their jobs. They're trying to sell you crap. That's reality. It sucks, it's not fun, it's a bit depressing, but that's how it goes. Doesn't mean you have to look at these companies with revulsion and disdain, but understand anything that sounds good probably is too good to be true. But yeah, it's worrying. It also reminds me, I was just thinking about this too, when I think about too good to be true and then EA again. All the delays, because they're saying now the delays on the new Dragon Age is actually pushing the new Mass Effect back. Which, everything I've seen for that new Dragon Age just doesn't look good. I also found out Dragon Age Inquisition was meant to be an MMO. Which explains why the combat system sucked. Because it was an MMO combat system. Looking back, playing the mage and your basic attacks were essentially you just standing around twirling your staff like it's some kind of disco stick and slamming it into the ground and shooting homing bolts at enemies. Yeah, it tracks. If you rip that and put it into an MMO, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's just basic mage MMO combat. They want to make sure the attacks land, so they just have them homing shots and they just have you stand still. Yeah, it completely makes sense. I'm in a good mood. We're gonna do a third mission. Also, we can check and see what these are. Yeah, that's trash. 50% of my reflect chance, so 4.5%. No, that's not good either. More shards. Man, I'm balling out of control with shards. Back to a sucky mission. Oh well. Oh, it's a panic room? Ugh. Fine, whatever. We'll suffer through it. Yeah, the delays, that was a big thing. And I remember seeing that for the new Mass Effect game, they're gonna go back to... They're getting rid of the open world stuff they had in Andromeda, which, fine by me, I didn't like it in the first place. I would rather have the open world element just be a star map and you find missions, and then you just have contained areas. Hell, you could do random gen on that and keep people busy with stuff. My concern, genuine concern, is I'm afraid that the team will not understand what needs to be done with Mass Effect. Not in a story sense, but in the sense of Mass Effect has both moved forward, it's progressed and regressed at the same time. I think I've mentioned this before, where Mass Effect 1, the combat was awful, but the designs, like the RPG elements, were great. And my concern is that from 1 to 3, the combat got better, but the RPG stuff just it evaporated. Full stop. And I'm afraid that they're gonna be like, oh, well, 3 was great, so we'll just keep doing that. And completely ignore all the actual RPG elements that need to come back. Because I get it, the BioWare of today is not the BioWare of yesteryear. But they really need to take a step back and look and be like, okay, what needs to return? Because if they could take some Knights of the Old Republic type beat stuff and add the feats and everything and add some unique effects, they could have a really cool game on their hands.
I wonder why this chest was so heavily protected.
Okay, how far are we away? Oh god, that many rooms. Let's just teleport. Do I really have to, like, hack a door to get through here? Who in their right mind designed this? This was probably a bad decision on my end. But it's a little too late now. Unless I just juke everybody. Oh, sweet. Alright, everybody, let's just run back into this room, please. VIP, get your stupid ass in here. I will have a shootout with everybody else. That is fine by me. I just need the VIP somewhere safe. That went surprisingly well. And now fighting our way through the rest of these guys will be a lot easier.
Inquisitor. Electrospectral scanning revealed info fragments of high importance in close proximity.
Yeah, it's
Blessed scanning psalms have been
worrisome because they could do a really good job.
Inquisitor. Data has been inloaded.
God, Omicron just doesn't shut up. But it's like they could do a really good job if they learn the right things, but I'm worried they won't. I think it's always the concern of studios, because people will be like, oh, I want to work at the studio I enjoyed. And then people will be like, I enjoyed, Mass Effect 3, and you're like, well, it didn't do a lot of stuff well, it did only certain things. And then they'll just want to make Mass Effect 3 2. And that's not what you want. You want an improvement on the system, on the formula. I just hope for the best. Also, I don't think EA can afford to keep just pumping out garbage games. I mean, they can. They own FIFA, even though FIFA's revoking the license, and they own Madden, and God knows, I've seen how bad this year's Madden is. And, oof, my brother got it, and he was telling me about it. The number of plays that are broken. So they have like 6 or 8, like, not, they're battle passes, but you don't have to buy them. But they have like 6 or 8 of them that are ongoing at the same time, because there's PvP stuff, there's not PvP stuff, there's just a bunch of junk going on. And I just marveled at it. I was like, this is actual hell. Because yeah, I don't have time to actually play against people because I have so many other passes I have to go through and get those done. And I had said to him, yeah, that's because they probably want you to spend money on tier skips, which they did have paid tier skips, and apparently they deactivated them, probably because, like everything else in Madden, they broke them. Which, if you don't follow those games, I don't blame you, but the sheer amount of stuff, like I said, plays that the AI just doesn't know how to work and will just shut down. Last year there was a pack you could buy, and for some reason it had really wonky drop rates initially. So I think you could buy it for a certain amount of coins, like let's say it was 500,000, but you could sell it for like whatever you got for like 750,000. So people had just millions because they were just spam doing it. And I remember some of the custom modes, they call them like house rules, some of those were just broken or just didn't play right or were just terrible. I don't know how EA stays afloat half the time, honestly. They gotta have just some benefactors just like, yeah, keep pumping out low effort games. It amuses me. Short of that, I don't know how the hell they do it. Maybe there's enough idiots who spend gratuitous amounts of money on packs of cards for a game for 1 year. It's not too shocking, people spend tons of money on skins in Call of Duty. Alright, we're getting real close. I think we just have this, and then these two left, and then we just do our final mission. Which actually, let's do a quick lightning round. 51, 51, 51, 53. Yeah, so these will be an absolute breeze. Was our loot worth it? No, it really wasn't. Oh well. That is to be expected. Damage and focus state? Nah. Did we get a level? Nope. Alright, so that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.